When I first met Lauren, I thought my luck had finally turned around. She was smart, beautiful, and incredibly charming. We met at a charity event. I accidentally spilled wine on her, and instead of being outraged, she laughed. That's how our story began, just like in the movies, romantic, bright and completely unexpected. A year later we were married. I couldn't even believe that I had such a wife, supportive, caring and always with a smile. Our friends called us the perfect couple. But everything changed the night I found her old cell phone. It was an ordinary evening. Lauren had gone to a friend's house for the night, and I decided to sort through her old stuff in her closet. The box of her old papers was on the top shelf. I pulled it out, and while rummaging through the papers, I happened to come across an old smartphone. The phone was dead, but I had a strange feeling. Why was it here? She said she always used the same phone. Plugging in the charger, I decided to see if there was anything important there. The phone came to life, and the first thing that caught my eye was the forgotten password. To my surprise, it unlocked on the third try. I entered our wedding date. On the screen were old photos and videos. I flipped through a few files: Lauren on the beach, Lauren with her friends. It all looked innocuous until I came across a video with a date 2 months before we met. I hit play, and it was like the world around me stopped. Lauren was sitting on the bed looking directly into the camera. She spoke softly, but her voice was cold and detached. I planned everything perfectly. He won't even realize it's my game. No one will know what I did. He'll never realize it's all a lie. I froze. Who did she mean? And what exactly was a lie? I rewatched the video several times, trying to figure out who she was talking about. Lauren looked different, without the genuine smile I was used to seeing. Her eyes were blank, like she wasn't talking to the camera, but to herself. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I began to frantically search my memory. Who could that person have been? Lauren never talked about exes. She said the past was behind her, and I believed her. I opened the gallery, trying to find anything else that might shed some light on what she'd said. But the rest of the videos were the usual: parties, outings. Not a single hint that she might have deceived or betrayed anyone. When Lauren returned the next day, I didn't know how to act. She walked into the house with a smile, kissing me on the cheek. "How was your night with the girls?" I asked, trying not to betray my excitement. "Oh, great. We watched a bunch of old movies," she said cheerfully. I could hardly contain myself. I couldn't get the video out of my head. I decided not to jump to conclusions, but an inner voice kept telling me, "You have to find out the truth. She's hiding something important." That evening, after Lauren fell asleep, I turned on that old cell phone again. This time I decided to check the correspondences. Most of the messages were with her friends, but one caught my eye: a chat with someone named Jason. I opened it. To Jason she wrote discreetly, but there was something strange in one of the last messages. "Lauren, no one will know what happened. Everything is under control." Jason, "Are you sure? He might guess." Lauren, "Don't worry. I've got it all figured out. Just don't tell anyone." My heart pounded even harder. Who is Jason? Why is she texting him? And what are they talking about? I decided not to rush to accusations and started looking for information about Jason. After a couple days, I found out that he worked at the same company as Lauren a couple years ago. But the weird thing is that he disappeared from her life around the time we started dating. The more I tried to get to the truth, the more I felt like I was caught up in someone else's devious game. I thought I was just being paranoid, but all the little things, the videos, the text messages, her cold voice, were keeping me on my toes. One day I decided to ask Lauren directly. We were having dinner on the patio, and I was trying to keep my cool. "Lauren, who is Jason?" She froze like she'd been punched. "Jason? Why do you ask? I just happened to come across some old photos. Were you too close?" She turned away and clutched her fork with force. "He's just a coworker. We haven't talked for a long time. Why do you ask?" "No reason, just curious." I pretended not to care, but I noticed her face tense. When she went to bed, I sat on the patio for a long time, trying to collect my thoughts. Why had Jason disappeared? And why did Lauren get so nervous at the mention of his name? The next day, I went through her things again. I found an old journal. On one of the last pages, there was a note that said, "If he finds out, it's all over. I can't let the truth come out." I froze, feeling my insides clench. What was Lauren hiding? What had she done before we met? I was fired for stealing. But I got my truth back and destroyed my boss Reddit stories. I woke up the next morning with a heavy feeling in my soul. Lauren's journal was on my bedside table, reminding me that I hadn't figured it out yet. Who was she really? And what did that entry mean? Lauren had already left for work, and I decided to look through her old stuff again. I found another box of papers, mostly old bills and documents. But among them was a thin folder with the heading, Jason K. Project Report. I froze. It was a report from the company where Lauren used to work. I opened the folder and immediately came across a photo, Jason at a corporate event, smiling, Lauren beside him. I couldn't believe I'd never seen it before. Underneath the photo was a caption. Jason's project team, Lauren, Michael, Sandra. I ran the names through social media. Lauren was subscribed to Michael and Sandra, but no mention of Jason. I decided to text Sandra, introducing myself as a former coworker. Hi. Can you tell me if you're still in touch with Jason? Lost his contacts. The reply came quickly. Jason? He disappeared a few years ago. We were all in shock then. I couldn't figure out what Lauren had to do with his disappearance. It wasn't like she could have, no, bullshit. But the video and the diary kept me on my toes. When Lauren came home from work, I decided not to let on that I knew anything. She was in a great mood, chatting about her day and plans for the weekend. I played along, but everything was boiling inside. Honey, she said, hugging me from behind, you've been so tense lately. Is something wrong? No, I'm fine, I replied, trying not to let my emotions show. But her gaze was intense. It was like she was trying to read something off my face. Later that night, I opened her phone again and came across another video. Lauren in some cheap hotel, clearly stressed out. She was mumbling something about mistakes and consequences. I turned the sound up. I didn't mean to, her voice was shaking. I just wanted things to get better. But he wasn't supposed to find out. Everything was different now. I felt cold all over my body. Was she talking about Jason? What exactly did he find out? That's when I heard her footsteps. Lauren was standing on the threshold of the bedroom, staring at me intently. What are you doing? She asked with a smile, but her eyes remained cold. Just watching old videos, I answered, hiding my phone under my pillow. Yours or mine? Her voice was on the verge of threatening. Ours. Just nostalgia. She came over to me and sat down next to me. You know it's not nice to go through other people's stuff, right? I nodded, trying not to meet her gaze. You trust me, don't you? She ran her hand over my cheek. Of course, I squeezed out. Good. Because I trust you, too. The next day I contacted Sandra again. She sent me an old news story from the local paper. Young manager Jason K. went missing after a company party. Colleagues claim he left the event with Lauren M. I was thrown into a cold sweat. I contacted Michael, he replied that Jason was never seen again after that party. The police had closed the case, thinking he'd gone abroad. I decided to ask Lauren directly. Over dinner, as she talked about her new project, I gently asked. Do you ever miss your old coworkers? She frowned. Why the question? Just a thought. You worked with Jason, didn't you? Her face went pale. Why are you asking me that? No reason. I just found an old picture. He disappeared, didn't he? She was silent for a long time, then she grinned. Well, people disappear sometimes. It's their choice. I realized I couldn't get anything out of her directly. So I decided to follow her. The next day, when she was going to meet a friend, I took a cab and followed her. Lauren wasn't headed to her friend's house, she turned toward an old motel on the outskirts of town. I got out of the car and hid behind a dumpster. Lauren entered room 12 and left the door ajar. I sneakily walked over and peeked inside. Lauren was sitting on the bed talking to someone on the phone. He suspects something. Yeah, I know I shouldn't have left the notes. But I couldn't just erase them. Pause. If he finds out what happened to Jason. No. I won't let that happen. I felt the world crumbling before my eyes. She was connected to Jason's disappearance. But what exactly did she do? Lauren suddenly turned around. I barely had time to hide behind the door. I'll call you back, she said into the phone and started to close the door. I stepped back a safe distance and pretended to walk past. My heart was racing. Now I knew for sure my wife was hiding something. And if she found out about my suspicions, I could be next. When I got home before her, I sat on the bed and tried to make sense of what I'd heard. My wife. Was it possible that she was involved in the disappearance of a man? I remembered her talking about the perfect plan. Maybe Jason had interrupted her by finding out some truth. When Lauren returned, she looked her usual calm, loving self. But her eyes were a little tense. Is everything okay? She asked, putting her arm around me. Yeah, just tired, I answered, trying not to show my fear. When she fell asleep, I picked up her phone again. There was only one new contact in the latest messages, Tom. Did he realize something? Not yet. I've got it under control. I realized that if I kept poking around, I could get in trouble. But I couldn't stop now. I had to find out the truth even if it destroyed everything we had. After that night, I couldn't shake the creepy feeling that I was living with a stranger. Lauren continued her usual behavior, a caring wife, always smiling. But her every gesture seemed carefully considered. I knew she was hiding the truth about Jason, but I was afraid to admit to myself that my wife might be dangerous. I decided to look into it all the way. Contacted Michael again and asked him to tell me everything he remembered about that party. We met at the bar, and Michael immediately recognized my tension. Dan, what's wrong? Why are you so interested in Jason? I'm just trying to figure out why he disappeared. It has something to do with Lauren. Michael shook his head. They were really close, but after that party, everything changed. It was like Jason disappeared off the face of the earth. The police looked for him, but there was no sign of him. Lauren said she didn't know anything at the time. But I saw her in the parking lot that night. She came out of the motel all worked up and got into Jason's car. It took my breath away. Are you sure? Positive. But she claimed she left the party alone. I felt my world start to fall apart. What if Lauren really is guilty? I decided to check old police reports. A friend at the station managed to get a copy of the case file. Jason was officially listed as a missing person. Last known whereabouts was a motel on the outskirts of town. Witnesses saw him leave in his car, but he hasn't been seen since. The car is also missing. Police speculated that Jason had left town, but there was no confirmation. I felt that something was wrong here. That evening, after Lauren left for her run, I looked at her phone again. There was a new message in correspondence with Tom. If he finds out about the car, it's over. Don't panic. We've already gotten rid of it. No one will find it. A thought struck me, they'd hidden Jason's car. If I found it, I could prove Lauren was hiding something. When Lauren came back, I pretended to be fine. She hugged me from behind, and I felt her breath on my neck. You're so tense, she whispered. I'm just tired from work, I squeezed out. Why don't we go away for the weekend? Lauren suggested, stroking my arm. That was a good idea. I saw Michael again the next day. He remembered that Jason often went to the lake at the old dock. It was his favorite place to relax. I decided to check out that spot. When I arrived at the lake, everything seemed quiet and abandoned. Old boats stood on the shore and the water reflected the overcast sky. I walked around the grounds and came across an old barn. The door was ajar, and inside I saw that very car. My heart raced. I cautiously stepped closer and peered inside. The interior was empty, but there was a business card with Lauren's name on the seat. I took a few pictures on my phone and wrote down the license plate number. Suddenly, I heard branches cracking behind me. I turned around sharply. Lauren was standing at the entrance to the barn, her face stone-faced. "What are you doing here?" Her voice sounded cold and detached. "Just out for a walk." "Were you following me?" Lauren stepped closer, her eyes glittering with rage. "No, I was just." "You weren't supposed to see that." Lauren suddenly smiled. Not the warm smile I was used to, but a cold, sinister one. "Dan, you do realize that sometimes people disappear for all sorts of reasons, right? What did you do to him?" I could barely contain the tremor in my voice. "He was too clingy. I told him to leave, but he wouldn't listen. We had a fight. I hit him. Accidentally. He fell down and never got up again. I froze." "You killed him?" Lauren leaned against the car and sighed. "I didn't want to. But he threatened to tell me everything, about the money I embezzled at work. I tried to cover my tracks. Tom helped me hide the car. I felt myself shaking with terror." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because if you knew, you would have left me. And I couldn't let that happen. You understand, don't you? I love you, Dan." I tried to back out, but she grabbed my arm. "No one will know. We're gonna do the right thing. We're just gonna burn this car, and it'll all be history." I ripped my arm out and ran out of the barn. Lauren ran after me. I made it to the car and started the engine. She yelled for me to stop, but I ran away. I stopped on a deserted highway and dialed the police. I was shaking with the realization that my wife was a murderer. Half an hour later, a patrolman pulled up to me. I showed them a photo of the car and told them everything I knew. A few hours later, the police found the car and arrested Lauren. Tom also came under suspicion when it turned out that he had helped cover up the tracks. Lauren acted calm, as if she had long ago accepted the inevitable. 2 weeks passed. I still couldn't believe it was real. Lauren confessed to involuntary manslaughter and trying to cover her tracks. Tom corroborated her story and got time served as well. I was sitting in the kitchen one evening, trying to distract myself with work. My phone vibrated, a message from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have provoked her. Now live with it. Tom." I tossed the phone on the table. My thoughts were confused. I'd done everything right, but why was there an emptiness inside? Lauren wasn't the person I knew she was. I'd thought love would conquer all difficulties, but it had become a nightmare that was impossible to wake up from. I knew now that even the most perfect relationships can hide dark secrets. And sometimes people don't change, they just masquerade as who they want to appear to be. Sometimes love is not a salvation, but a trap that hides your worst nightmare. A few days had passed since Lauren's arrest. I tried to get my life back on track, but my mind was racing. I couldn't understand how I hadn't noticed before my wife was a murderer, and she'd been living with me all this time, hiding the truth. I got calls from work, friends offered to help, but I brushed them off. All those words of comfort seemed empty. I tried not to remember her face, the way she smiled at me in the morning, the way she cooked dinner, the way she told me she loved me. Now every memory hurt. One day, I got a call from Detective Jones, the same detective who'd handled Lauren's case. He asked me to meet him at the station. I arrived, trying not to show excitement. Jones got straight to the point. We interviewed Lauren and Tom. Lauren's version: Jason attacked her at the motel, she defended herself. Tom claims he was just helping her get rid of the car. Do you believe them? I asked. I don't know yet. There's one discrepancy: they found no signs of a struggle on Jason's body or in the car. I was confused. What does that mean? It means she could have lied about self-defense. We need more evidence. The detective asked if I had any other notes or evidence. I remembered Lauren's old cell phone. It had some strange videos and correspondence on it. I gave it to Ed, he was digging through the logs. Oh, great. Bring it down to the station. When I contacted Ed, he said he found something new. Lauren's phone had remote access to the motel cameras. She could see who was coming in and out. I checked the logs, the parking lot camera footage was deleted the day before Jason disappeared. That meant only one thing: Lauren didn't just get in trouble, she planned the whole thing in advance. But why? What did Jason know? That same night, the doorbell rang. It was Lauren's best friend Sarah. "Dan, I heard the news. I have something to say." I invited her in. She looked worried and depressed. "I don't believe Lauren could have killed anyone," she began. "But the evidence is against her. You don't understand. Lauren wasn't who she seemed. She always wanted to be perfect. She had a control complex. If anyone went against her will, she went crazy." I stared at Sarah, not believing my ears. "You're saying she could have killed Jason because of control?" They'd met before. But Jason realized she wasn't quite normal and tried to break off the relationship. Lauren didn't want to let go. Sarah fell silent, looking out the window. "I knew she was manipulating you. But I was afraid to tell her. She was too skilled at persuasion." The next day, Detective Jones called again. "Dan, we found something in the car. There was a cell phone hidden under the seat upholstery. Looks like Jason tried to record something before he disappeared." "What's on the tape?" "Just one sentence: 'If anything happens to me, it's Lauren.'" I froze. So Jason knew Lauren could do something scary. Jones continued. "We checked her bank transactions. A week before Jason disappeared, large sums were transferred from her account to Tom's personal account. It looks like she paid him to help her. I realized I needed to meet Lauren. If anyone could expose the truth, it was her." Jones helped set up the meeting at the prison. I didn't know how to start the conversation, but I was seething inside. When Lauren entered the room, she looked calm and even a little pleased. "Dan. I'm glad you came," she said with a smile. "Lauren, why did you do that?" She sighed. "I just wanted to be happy. Jason wanted to tell you that I'm not who I think I am. He found out about the money and realized I was using him. I couldn't let him ruin my new life." "You killed him?" My voice broke into a scream. She looked me in the eye and said coldly. "It wasn't me. It was someone I created. To survive." I couldn't believe my ears. "You created? What are you talking about?" "I learned to hide my emotions since I was a child. Hide my anger, mask my jealousy. But sometimes the other one comes out. And then I just watch her solve problems from the sidelines." I realized that Lauren didn't realize what she was doing. She was literally splitting herself into two personalities, the one I loved and the one that destroyed those who got in the way. "So you have no regrets, then?" She smiled. "I only regret one thing, that I didn't destroy the evidence in time." I stood up, feeling the ground go from under my feet. Lauren wasn't afraid of jail, she was only afraid of one thing: losing control. A month later, the court found Lauren guilty of involuntary manslaughter. She was sent to compulsory treatment. Tom got time for covering up the crime and aiding and abetting. One day I got a letter from a mental institution. There were only 3 words. "You were right." I burned the letter, realizing I could never forget the horror. Lauren was both the most tender and the most dangerous woman I had ever known. I knew one thing now. Sometimes love is not a salvation, but a trap you set for yourself. Some people are good at masking their dark sides. But one day the mask always falls off. It had been a few weeks since the verdict. I tried to get my life together, but there was still an emptiness inside. I still couldn't believe that my wife had turned out to be a sociopath and a murderer. I knew the truth about Jason had come out, but the feeling that something was left untold never left me. One day I got another call from Detective Jones. "Dan, Lauren wants to meet with you. She claims she has something important." "Why?" I exhaled. "She says if you don't come, you'll never know the truth." I pondered for a long time. Should I go to her after everything that had happened? But the desire to put this nightmare to rest finally prevailed. I arrived at the clinic and made my way to the visiting room. Lauren was sitting at the desk, seemingly calm, even peaceful. "Dan," she began, as if we'd met after a long time apart. "Talk to me. What do you want?" She smiled slightly. "You'll never know what's true and what's false, will you?" I frowned. "What are you talking about?" "You confessed to Jason's murder. Case closed." "Yeah. Are you sure I'm telling the truth? Lauren leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with interest. You wanted to know the truth so badly. But I could have just lied on the stand. Why would you do that? I held back my rage. Did you ever think that maybe Jason was alive? My heart beat twice as fast. What are you trying to say? Maybe I just made you believe I was guilty. Maybe I wanted you to leave me. Stop it, I whispered, trying to make sense of what she was saying. Dan, I told you, you'll never know the truth. I could have killed him. I might not have. Maybe Jason's living a new life somewhere. I didn't realize what was going on. Lauren slowly leaned back in her chair, pleased with my confusion. But why? Why are you telling me this now? Because you've always believed in perfect stories. You loved the Lauren I created for you. And now you'll never know who I really am. I was about to leave, but she stopped me. You know what the funny thing is? I've always been different. But you were the one who made me pick a side. You wanted the perfect wife. Take that. You wanted the truth. Here you go. But the truth is, I don't know who I am. Her words rang in my head like a bell. Did she really not know? Or was she just playing me for keeps? Lauren, just tell me. Why did you do all this? She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Because I got bored. I walked out of the clinic, the cold wind chilling me to the bone. Lauren left me in a complete mess. Had she killed Jason or had she just insinuated it into my mind? Was Jason really dead? Or was she able to set it up so that I myself believed she was guilty? Detective Jones met me on the way out. Everything okay? He asked me. She said Jason might be alive. Jones thought about it. We ran every possible theory. The car, the evidence, the tapes. Lauren was the last person to see him alive. But they never found his body. Those words struck again. What if Lauren's right? What if she was really just manipulating me into believing she was guilty? A week later, I received a text from an unfamiliar number. You did the right thing. Now she's not coming back. Jason. I almost dropped the phone. I checked the number, it wasn't registered. I tried calling back, but there was silence. Was this someone's evil prank? Or was it really Jason? I called Detective Jones and told him about the message. We'll look into it. But, Dan, be careful. Maybe Lauren found a way to get the message to you through someone. She wanted to keep you in suspense until the last minute. It's been a month. Lauren was transferred to another clinic where she was scheduled for long-term treatment. I tried to forget the whole nightmare, but the thought that Jason might be alive kept me going. One day I went to my old letterbox and found an envelope with no return address. Inside was a short letter. Thanks for the release. She won't find me. I dropped the letter from my hands. Was Lauren lying? Or was this all just her latest game? I knew one thing, the truth had dissolved into the shadow of her lies. And now I'd never know which of us was the victim, me or her. Sometimes a lie can be the truth if you believe it. But if the truth remains in the shadows, can it be considered real?